Resident Evil Requiem was a masterpiece, but there was a couple of things in this game that was a little and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. This is going to be my little discussion, my little review, all my thoughts in this game. I didn't have no script written, just on the mic, speaking my mind, and if I miss anything, if I get anything wrong, y'all let me down in the comments, and we can discuss and talk about it, man. But this game was fire. This game was fire. If y'all saw me play it for this last, week and a half or something like that, if you saw us play this entire franchise over the last 3 months, then you know everything I've kind of been talking about, my thoughts as we actually played the game. And games, this is my favorite gaming franchise now, and Resident Evil 9 was amazing. It's the newest entry and it was fire, you know what I'm saying? It was a lot, you know, the story, the new characters. Grace, I love Grace. She's honestly in my top 5 along with Ada, Jill, freaking Leon, and Jake. But after I beat the game and I edited that last video, I got to watch it twice pretty much. As I was playing it, I'm experiencing it, but when I edit it, I'm like viewing it again, and it's kind of like, okay, some things were kind of like, you know, it's a lot of plot holes. It's a lot of plot holes. So while this game was fire, I love the characters, the voice acting, the story, the score, you know, the gameplay, how it felt. This video is going to be about all the things that, you know, could have been, not necessarily flaws, because y'all know me, I'm kind of simple when it comes to games, bro. This is a 10 out of 10, but like every game, regardless of if it's perfect or not, there could have been more, I guess. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into it, and we're going to be talking about the thing that I've been talking about throughout the whole entire let's play of Resident Evil Requiem pretty much, and that's returning characters. I'm going to break this section up. I'm going to, you know, talk about each Raccoon City survivor, explain kind of what I was hoping to see and how they could have, you know, worked in this game, in my opinion, if I was making it, you know what I'm saying? Now granted, my expectations for this game, I tried to keep them contained, because obviously you don't want this to be a huge Avengers in-game type of meetup with all the characters, especially when we're introducing a new character like Grace Ashcroft. But that's going to lead us to the first character I want to talk about, and that's Claire Redfield. Out of all the Raccoon City survivors, I felt like Claire should have been in this game, whether an actual appearance, a current updated mention on her whereabouts, you know, currently, or a simple phone call, something other than a charm for our guns, you know what I'm saying? Claire was with Leon and Sherry when Raccoon City, you know what I'm saying, the outbreak started in 1998. Leon, in this game, the way they did Leon, with him going back to Raccoon City and the Mr. X clone, Marvin, the letters from Marvin's daughter, and being an RPD, playing it, it's like, okay, I see exactly why they chose Leon for this, you know what I'm saying? It makes sense. I'm happy with that. But again, out of all the Raccoon City survivors, there should have been something for Claire. There was many opportunities for Sherry to bring up Claire, for Leon to bring up Claire. When Leon first showed up, to go down the alleyway where the TI, you know what I'm saying, thing was leading up to RPD, that road was where Leon and Claire split up after the truck blew up, you know what I'm saying? They could have ran a flashback right there, you know? Sherry talking about the orphanage, Leon and Sherry talking about the orphanage. Claire was the one that went to the orphanage to save Sherry during RE2 remake. It would have been cool if maybe that's where Claire could have came into the game. If she was an actual character, she could have been like some type of small AI partner to Leon for that section, you know what I'm saying? But again, I don't think Capcom wanted this game to be too, you know, saturated, since the last RE game with the actual, you know, OG protagonist was Resident Evil 6, and while that game might have sold good, I know people talk crazy about it. That personally is one of my favorites. It's in my like S rank for my Resident Evil games, Resident Evil 6, but I know how people talked about it. Capcom know how people talk about it, so I doubt they would want to make another game with the OG protagonist where they're all there and it's going to take away from that horror element. So I think they know what they were doing on that front. But I'm going to talk about this a little later. Claire, definitely, if they were to do DLC, I would hope Claire gets some type of update, because again, they don't have to actually appear and be playable and have combat, but an update. It literally could have been a file saying Claire Redfield is here, she's okay, she's not infected, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get into the Raccoon City syndrome later too, but let's move on to the next character, and that's Ada Wong. Just like Claire, Ada was with Leon during all of this, you know what I'm saying? They met in Raccoon City, they met dealing with Mr. X and all of this stuff. Leon and Claire, I mean, and Ada, they, you know, their relationship started here. When I say relationship, just them, you know, interacting with each other. Now, honestly, I can't really see Ada being in this game. I don't know if this would be her type of game to fit her. I mean, she could, they could probably make it work, but again, only the Raccoon City section, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, and that part of the game for Resident Evil 9, Grace was off with Victor Gideon and Zeno, so that was kind of like not throwing her away, but it was off. You know, Grace had her section. This was Leon's big section where we play as him the most in Raccoon City. I feel like that's when they could have started adding or mentioning other characters, so it wouldn't really take too much of Grace since her section was already over it, you know what I'm saying? So again, just like Claire, I feel like that's where Ada could have came in that mix. Another small mention, update, something. Now the thing with Ada, we did have the little cute bear charm that was a direct tease to Ada, but it could be something saved for DLC, just like Claire, because there was the ring on Leon's ring finger in the concept art, and there was also somebody already found it on PC using FreeCam. Do y'all remember when the last cutscene when we were playing and Leon walked off? I thought he was like loading or cocking a gun, but I saw it like a glare or a shine on his finger. I assumed it was the ring he was putting on his finger, and it actually was. Somebody recorded it with a free camera, and yeah, as he's walking off leaving from Grace, he takes off his glove and he puts on a ring. So to me, that's definitely confirming he's married. This isn't something just in the concept art. This dude is married. Who is he married to? Out of all the females he interacted with, this dude Leon he's a flirt, bro. He a ladies man. Out of all the women though in this entire Resident Evil franchise, Ada Wong would be the one I would think he would be married to. Now, I'm not gonna be crazy about the ships how some people get, but maybe in a way, since they even added that in the concept art and added that option, obviously they, you know, they get people talking. But to me, that's kind of, if you know, me assuming that he's married to Ada, that's her mention. But at the same time, and I'm going to talk about this again when it comes to the Raccoon City syndrome, is Ada okay? She was there too, you know what I'm saying? But just like for Claire and many other characters in this game, we could see her in DLC. But I definitely feel like Ada, a mention of Ada, a phone call or something would have been, you know what I'm saying, perfect. But I can't really see her working in this game the way this story and the way the gameplay was kind of made, you know, compared to RE2 remake, RE4, RE6. She was always kind of somewhere in the shadows with the scope, throwing a rocket launcher for Leon. That it wasn't too many opportunities for that, unless they wanted to change their whole dynamic where they're just, you know, 50-50 working together, you know what I'm saying, a duo, which I feel like we will hopefully need to get some more build up. Even though you could say RE6, they kind of confirmed that in a way how they felt about each other. But because yeah, at the end of RE6, Helena gave Leon her little makeup mirror, said give that to her next time you see her. When did that happen? You know what I'm saying? I feel like they definitely need to capitalize on that. You know, you're gonna have that as Leon's last cutscene in RE6, Leon's campaign, and you know what happened with that. Did he meet up with her? Did he give her back the mirror, or is he still holding on to her? You know, but we shall see. Now the next character, Sherry Birkin. Now Sherry Birkin is in the game. She got cutscene, she got dialogue, but my question, or the reason why I'm putting her in this little section for this, like, you know, discussion flaw, you know, bad video, is I feel like she could have been in the field actually. At the end of the game, Leon had told her that he had a dose of the Elpis cure so she could get back into action there. So that told me that she was only, you know, the girl in the chair for this game since she was sick, you know, infected. But that also was like, okay, she already has a regen ability. Her virus isn't even as bad as Leon. Why was she in the chair? You know what I'm saying? If we're looking at it like that, Leon should be the one that's resting, but is Leon, he won't finna rest for nobody, you know what I'm saying? But I just feel like Sherry would have been a huge, I don't want to say asset, but it would have been cool to see her with Leon at the orphanage, you know what I'm saying? Sherry can fight, bro. Sherry can scrap, she can shoot, she can hold her own, you know what I'm saying? Taking away a character like Hunnigan, and replacing it with Sherry is kind of like, you know, it's a choice. You feel me? Especially since Leon is still in that mix. Hunnigan wasn't ever in the field. That was her role. So unless she just didn't want to do it no more, she retired. Maybe she got fired. She was helping Leon. You know what I'm saying? She never really truly went against him. That was Hunnigan was cool. So maybe something happened with Dad and she had to take her back. Okay, if that happened, let us know that, you know what I'm saying? That's, I guess, when it comes to all of these characters in this section of this video, the main, not thing, but the main point is a lot of questions, a lot of plot holes, a lot of things that could have been simply answered just wasn't. And somebody like Hunnigan and all of that, Sherry, that's something that I don't think DLC will even, you know, include. I will hope it to, you know, I hope it would, but you know, it's just a lot of things that could have happened, simply could have happened, that just didn't, you know. Next, let's talk about Jake. Now, Jake isn't a Raccoon City survivor, but he has strong ties to, honestly, Leon and mainly Sherry. Sherry also wears a ring in this game. It's on her pinky finger, but if we saw her hand, the infection was kind of, you know, a lot on her ring finger. So just like Leon, she probably took it off and just put it on her pinky. Leon took it off and put it in his pocket because he in the field, he probably didn't want to drop it. Makes perfect sense. That's telling me Sherry is probably married to Jake, if we assume from the people she interacted with, and it's literally Jake, you know what I'm saying? That's the only person, or, you know, dude we saw her interact with in her life when it comes to these games. So where the freak is Jake? Like I said during our Let's Play, if we have a new virus, knowing Jake already used his blood to cure something in RE6, it seemed like they would have, just a mention, again, they don't have to appear, but mention, you know, oh, yo, Sherry, did you get in contact with Jay? Does he have the antibodies for this? Can he tell, you know what I'm saying? Just to give an update on their characters. That's another point I want to say. It seems Capcom, while when they use their characters, they use them well, but they also do a great job at not using their characters. You know what I'm saying? Jake Wesker is a great character, and I feel like he has a lot of potential to show up in a lot of different games, you know what I'm saying? Especially in this game when you introduce a Zeno, you know, a Wesker clone, I'm assuming, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely a lot that could have been shown with Jake in this game, with Sherry being there and Leon. Now next up is Hunk. He is a Raccoon City survivor, and he honestly might have been in this game. I honestly don't know. When I was editing that last video and looking at him, trying to listen to him, because it honestly sounded like Hunk from some other games, but his name was the Commander in RE9. He had Hunk's mask, he had his whole fit. He wasn't wearing the helmet. He had Hunk's signature neck break, finger takedown, you know what I'm saying? But he was named the Commander, and Leon killed him. So that don't sit right with me, that's Hunk, you know what I'm saying? Out of all the characters that I've been learning about since I've gotten to this franchise, Hunk is probably the one I don't know the most about, you know what I'm saying? I know Grim Reaper, Mr. Death, he's like the Punisher of this universe, but I really don't, like, I don't know what his face looks like other than that one illustration from the epilogue of RE3, I believe. I don't know his real name, you know what I'm saying? But he doesn't seem like the character that would die, and especially die like that. Like, they set him up like he was just one of the elite troops. A random boss killed him, Leon got out of here, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think that's Hunk. If it is, y'all let me know what y'all thinking about that. Maybe he didn't die there, maybe he's still alive, maybe he could be, that could be DLC, you know what I'm saying? Because RE2 Remake, he did have the Fourth Survivor DLC where you play as Hunk and, you know, you get out Raccoon City before it explodes. Maybe they can do that again. He'll get like a small scenario DLC where we play as Hunk that really is Hunk, and we're trying to escape that lab arc before it blows up, you know what I'm saying? That would confirm that that's Hunk. If it isn't Hunk, where is he at? Does he have the Raccoon City syndrome, you know what I'm saying? That's gonna be another question I'm gonna get into, but that's one character that I feel like they could have mentioned, you know, if they're gonna bring in a new virus that affects Raccoon City survivors. But next up, these two characters are gonna be joined together because they usually are joined together, and that's Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. Now I'll go ahead and start talking about Chris first, since he was the only character that was actually directly mentioned in this game, which is crazy when it comes to all the other characters that were more tied to Leon, Sherry, and Raccoon City. But Chris pulled up and saved the day at the end of this game. Well, his Wolf Squad did, you know what I'm saying, but he leads them. So Chris pulled up and saved the day. The question is that I'm having about Chris is, where is he and what was he doing? Leon had said everything would have went smoother if Chris wasn't so late to the party. Maybe he was just late. You know, Chris might have been late, bro. He could have been doing something random and got late. Could have got stuck in something that wasn't even related. You know what I'm saying? We know Chris be getting his man killed. That's how I joke on Chris. I be joking on Chris, but he a cool character. But what was he doing? You know what I'm saying? That's my thing that I was thinking of once I heard him say that is, what if Claire or Jill were sick and he was protecting them? Those would definitely be the people he would protect. That's honestly DLC, but it's crazy if we do get DLC and Chris is in it with no other characters. It's like, damn, Capcom, what are y'all doing? You know, you have an opportunity to, you know, Leon and Grace's campaign, that's done. DLC, go ahead and show everybody else. But if it's just Chris, that's kind of nuts. But that opportunity of showing what Chris was doing, why Chris was late, it would be perfect to finally bring back Jill. And that's the last character I want to talk about when it comes to the Raccoon City survivors. Jill Valentine. Just like Sherry, I don't know if she would be sick, even though Sherry was sick and she had the G virus. She got a cure for the G virus and she can regenerate. Jill, she had many different viruses in her. The daggone T, I think, what was the one from Revelations? I don't even know, man. She was just a whole damn, she just had hella viruses, you know what I'm saying? But I know she also got cured by a lot of these things. I think Wesker probably cured some of the things once he, you know, mind controlled her and, you know, had another virus. Did she have the progenitor in her? I don't even know. But I think she was kind of cured then, because she was she in cryo sleep? People were theorizing that that's why her hair turned blonde. I'm thinking Wesker is just a freak of league and dyed Jill's hair blonde, but regardless, that's not really the point. She probably has a lot of cures. Would she even get sick? Now, if she is sick, again, would Chris be taking care of her or something like that, you know, keeping her safe? In a potential DLC for Resident Evil 9, I hope that happens. But when it comes to the actual campaign, just like Claire and Ada, I could see Jill playing a part, but not as big as Claire and Ada. Jill was a Raccoon City, you know, native, but if you think about Leon's ties to Raccoon City and Jill's, Leon, he was a rookie cop there trying to save the city, do everything he could to save the city, and he couldn't. That's why it took so much of a toll on him. It made sense playing it and seeing it was like, damn, Leon was definitely the right choice to go back to a broke down Raccoon City. You know, he wanted to save it, would have hit different. Pretty sure Jill definitely wanted to save Raccoon City, but she was already planning on leaving Raccoon City, you know what I'm saying? That was always the plan. She saw it blow up, you know, that was her home, people, Kendo, yada yada yada, but she was already planning on leaving. So having her come back for a mission like this is kind of like, but I also know she and Chris wanted to stop Umbrella, which they pretty much did in Umbrella Chronicles. So it also brings up the argument of, would Jill even be wanting to do any of this? We saw at the end of Death Island, the last thing we saw her in, she was, you know, back in the mix. She was getting over her mind control and the whole situation with Wesker, and she was getting back in the field. Where is she at then? And that leads me to my next question. Why isn't Jill a part of Chris's Wolf Squad? You know what I'm saying? That would be the perfect squad, or, you know, new position, I guess, for Jill to be in. Jill and Chris are always together. They're always looking for one another. You know what I'm saying? I doubt Jill is still working with the BSAA. If that's the case, that's freaking crazy. You know what I'm saying? Are we gonna see a corrupt Jill plot? And why the freak did Chris not let Jill know? Again, that could be potential DLC, but y'all let me know what y'all thinking. Let's get into the next part of my discussion, and that's what the freak is the Raccoon City syndrome? Why did it happen, and why is it infecting people? Because after I beat the game, I realized they never actually said why the freak this was happening, did they? If they did, let me know. Leon, Sherry, I think Victor, I think they're the only people that showed symptoms of this Raccoon City syndrome. We know survivors were dying. It was 6 survivors that died, you know what I'm saying? They were kind of unknown. We didn't really know them. But why was that happening? You feel me? Was there something, I think Sherry said it was a strand of the T virus. How did that, you know what I'm saying? How did that happen? You feel me? I feel like that is a huge plot hole that definitely needs an answer for, you know? I know Elpis was able to cure him, yada yada yada, but why did it happen in the first place? You know, that's something I feel like would honestly be perfect DLC. The rumors are right now is that we're going to be getting 2 DLC stories, one for Alyssa Ashcroft, kind of like a prequel to this game, and then one for Leon. Don't know what could be happening with Leon, but I'm surprised the rumors or there's no leak saying it's going to be Chris showing why he was late and other characters showing up in that. I hope that's honestly what we get. Now the next big plot hole and potential storyline that I want to talk about in this game was Zeno, however you say his name, the freaking Wesker imitation clone. I'm thinking more of an imitation like Victor said rather than another Wesker child like Albert and Alex, but his whole entire character was Wesker. He sounded like Wesker from RE4 Remake. He looked like him. I saw a little bit of Jake in there. He had the suit. He could dodge like him. He could fight like him. Then he just dies. He gets his head cut off. He injects himself with Elpis, thinking it's gonna give him mind control powers and all this. It cures him, takes away his powers. He gets his head cut off. End of Zeno Wesker. That's like, that was a weird, I feel like they shouldn't even add him in there, because it's like, what's the point? You have a Wesker and you kill him off in that game. Like, I know they did that with Alex, but Alex isn't dead, you know what I'm saying? Alex is living in Italia. I would love to get an update on that. That could be a whole nother plot line, but the fact that you bring in a Wesker and kill him off that soon, like, we don't know what his deal was. What Wesker did he come from? Was he a direct clone of Albert? If that's the case, how did Albert have multiple clones like the Tyrants? You know what I'm saying? Why was he with Victor? And why was he with the Connections? I'm assuming in the game he told Victor the Connections is done with you or something like that. That's telling me this dude Zeno was working with the Connections. Now we know the Connections at the E series, hella clones of Evelyn, probably hella clones of Emily and all those little girls that they were trying to do make to replicate Grace. Did they try to replicate a Wesker to have a strong, asset on their team just in case, they needed to send him out or whatever? If that's the case, how long was this dude Zeno alive? When was he first created? What was he doing during a lot of these major events in his franchise if he was around back then? Now the next, it isn't really a plot hole but kind of a flaw, but it's the villains, Zeno included. But Zeno and Victor Gideon are some stupid villains, bro. Most villains are stupid, you know what I'm saying? They're bad, but I feel like their reasoning behind all of this, it just screamed CG Resident Evil movie. If you've seen the CG Resident Evil movies, all the villains in those movies are idiots. That's how I felt about Victor Gideon and Zeno. Once we found out their reasoning behind all of this, it's like, bruh, they assumed that Spencer's Elpis virus was some mind-controlling drug, his last big virus, it was going to change the military balance, yada yada yada, without actually knowing. This dude Zeno, supposedly being a Wesker clone, takes the virus and injects it in himself, thinking he's bound to be powerful. He loses his power and gets his head cut off. You know what I'm saying? Real Wesker wouldn't have done that. This is like, it was just like, in Victor, he's like a freakily goofball, bro. I didn't like him, but not in a Wesker way where this dude is a villain. He gotta go. I don't like him. I just didn't like this dude Victor. He was just yucky, bro. We know he used to research on the T virus. That was Sherry said. So he used to be with Umbrella. He already looked crazy in the face. So I don't know if he did something to himself or that's just how he came out the womb, bro. If that's the case, and he was destined to be a villain. But the whole, when it started, it was kind of, cool, I guess. My original theory was that maybe this dude was kind of like Luis from RE4 Remake, where, yeah, he used to be with Umbrella. Yeah, he did research on the T virus, but he realized it was wrong. He knew Elpis was a cure. He knew he needed Grace so he could, get the cure out and save the world. But that flew out the window once I saw this dude and how he was moving in this game. He's a straight villain. But just like Zeno, he thought Spencer and Elpis, was some big bag virus, yada yada yada. And even when it was revealed that it wasn't, he was acting like he knew all along and how Spencer was a genius, yada yada yada. It's just like, what, bro? it was the villains of this game, they definitely didn't stand out to me, you know what I'm saying? They definitely didn't stand out to me at all. Alex Wesker stood out to me more in Revelations 2, and she wasn't a stupid villain, but it was still just stupid in general, but it stood out to me more. So I guess that would be a flaw, you know, that I would have for this game. Definitely the villains. Now I think that's gonna be it when it comes to flaws in the story and characters, you know, missing pieces. Again, if I missed anything or said anything wrong, please let me know down in the comments. We could talk about it, discuss about it. The connections were definitely a big thing that, you know, I feel like could have been answered some more, even though we got a lot of big revelations about them in this game. But I'm okay with some of the things left open, because that's, you know, Resident Evil 10 and other DLC, you know, connections are honestly, I don't want to say they're controlling umbrella, but they play a huge part in the creation of all these BOWs and a lot of things that's been going on in this universe since the beginning, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like the connections definitely have another like trilogy of games with the heroes trying to take down the connections now. You know, Umbrella's done. The connections need to get up out of here now, you know what I'm saying? Check Mia Winters. I can't stand Mia Winters, and bro, I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what these games try to do. And Mia Winters, freaking buster. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, if we get DLC or something to do with the connections, I hope they pull up on Mia. Chris, shoot the real Mia this time. But lastly, let's get into some like game features that I feel like could have been in the game, and you know, hopefully can come to the game. Photo mode is something that should have been in this game. It's not a must, but when you get games like RE4, shoot, RE Village, they have these photo modes. It's like, damn, you get a new Resident Evil game that look this good, third person and first person, and you don't have a photo mode. It's like, bruh. I think Resident Evil 8 and 4 came with a photo mode. I know a lot of games get photo mode after the fact, and with this game being so big at launch, hopefully a lot of stuff is still being created now so they can put out, you know, later. They wanted to make sure the story and the gameplay was good first, then put all the other stuff later. If that's the case, perfect, as long as we end up getting one, you know, a photo mode, that is. The other option is a field of view option. Not having a field of view slider in this game is another weird thing that's like, you know, that's something that seemed like could have been easy to do. You have a, you know, two perspectives in the game with no FOV for third person, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that was kind of weird when all the remake games have a FOV slider, you know what I'm saying? 2, 3, and 4 have that slider to change that field of view. Hopefully that's something that can come in like a quality of life update later down the line. Last but not least, which I already kind of mentioned throughout this whole video and throughout our whole let's play of Resident Evil Requiem, but that's DLC and the type of mercenary slash raid mode that has to happen for this game. DLC is almost guaranteed with the way it went off. I doubt they would have it go off on the cliffhanger like this and then wait, you know what I'm saying, 5-6 years to get a whole new game to continue this. Almost every Resident Evil game out has some type of DLC or small mode. I honestly think they do, except for like some of the OGs, but starting with 2 remake and, you know, 4, the original 4, 5, 6, like all of these have some type of DLC. If they don't have a story DLC, they have a mercenaries or raid mode. So I hope we get both. You feel what I'm saying? The DLC, I talked about it before. I feel like when it comes to a big story expansion type of DLC, Chris and what he was up to, because one thing that I talked about in this video, Chris, he could have been taking care of Jill and Claire, yada yada yada, but we also got to remember during this time of this game, Rosemary Winters would be like what, 5, 6 or something like that. We know Chris was one of her caretakers. What if he was taking care of Rose during this time? That's why he was late, yada yada yada. He definitely would be in contact with Mia Winters, somebody that worked with the connections. That's why I said Chris needed to shoot her this time, and the connections could definitely play a big part in the DLC with Mia. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Rose and Mia show up in a potential Resident Evil 9 DLC with Chris in it. You know, they would have to mention them, but I also thought they would have to mention somebody like Claire in this game, and they didn't. So it's kind of like we shall see. And yeah, I feel like if they wanted to kind of do just one big story DLC, length simpler to separate ways for RE4 remake, that's when you bring in an update and have mentions for all of these other characters. They would have to, you know, it's just too much with the Raccoon City syndrome and being Leon going back to Raccoon City in general, that, you know, not having some of these central characters mentioned, at least a mention, a file, a phone call, that's weird, you know. So I'm hoping we get that some type of story DLC with them all in. Or we could do something similar to Resident Evil 2 remake, where we have many different small scenario episodes with these characters in them. Maybe all these other Raccoon survivors, Claire, Jill, Ada. I honestly forgot to mention Carlos, but he's somebody that definitely could have been mentioned at least in this game as well. But if they were up to individual things, you know, kind of off somewhere else in the world, it would be a perfect opportunity to give them a small 30-minute type of scenario like Resident Evil 2 remake or Resident Evil 7, showing what they were up to. One thought that I honestly just thought about now, if Chris is with his wolf squad, and I think Jill should be a part of it, but with Jill being, you know, heavily experienced combatant, I wouldn't really have her just working under Chris in a way. What if at this point in time Chris's wolf squad is kind of expanded now, there's more soldiers in that mix? What if Chris is, you know, the captain of his team, Tundra and Umbrize and all that? What if Jill is her own kind of captain of another team for the wolf squad? You know, they're kind of branching off, making their own rogue not company, but their own rogue squad, you know, to go against bioterrorism, since every other daggone squad or army or, you know, military they work with end up being corrupt. But we get a lot of DLC, the most DLC we ever seen, you know, more than 2 remake, more than 7, because with the way this game looks, how it feels in the gameplay, it would just be perfect and amazing to see other characters other than Leon, you know what I'm saying? And that takes me to mercenaries and or a raid mode, or a blend of mercenaries and raid mode. Maybe we can get something entirely new, because the thing about Resident Evil Requiem, the thing about this franchise is that this is the 30th anniversary, 30 years, you know what I'm saying? I feel like if we don't have a mercenaries or a raid mode for this game, that would be a huge miss. Resident Evil 5 had the mercenary reunion and anniversary with all these characters coming back, except for like Leon and Claire and Ada, but a lot of characters were in mercenaries for RE5, you know? This would be that perfect time to do that again. 30th anniversary, the gameplay is amazing. We have perfect maps for mercenaries, you know, Ark, Destroyed Raccoon City, many different parts of Destroyed Raccoon City would work as the maps for mercenaries, you know, Rhodes Hill, perfect mercenary locations, characters, Leon, Grace, Sherry, Alyssa, Jill, Claire, Chris, Ada, Carlos, Rebecca, Barry, Wesker, like Hunk, so many characters. It has the potential to be the best mercenary / raid mode ever, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's something that like needs to happen, man, to keep this game going. We can replay the game as many times as we want to, but having that extra mode and DLC really just gives it, to me, it gives it more fun, you know what I'm saying, and more life to the game. I changed my camera, by the way, because my other one died, so sorry if I get blurry, but yeah, man, DLC mercenaries, that's something I would love to see. And one thing I talked about in my wish list video that I made before Resident Evil Requiem came out is the director of this game is Nakanishi. I can't say his first name, but Nakanishi directed this game. If we go and look at the other games he directed, 2 of them, or like 3 of them, had hella DLC. One of them was Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 had a lot of smaller, different scenario DLC. I would love to see that for Requiem. He also made Revelations 1 and 2. Both had DLCs. Revelation 1 didn't have DLC, but it had the raid mode, you know what I'm saying? Resident Evil 7 and Revelations 2 both had 2 endings, a good ending, a bad ending. We already saw that in Resident Evil Requiem. So if Nakanishi being the director is a big, you know what I'm saying, play in how the game is made, hopefully he's like the fans and people like me, hopefully he's saying, okay, I need to have some extra DLC, some type of mercenaries or raid mode, you know what I'm saying? I feel like if I was the director, Nakanishi, with the games I've already directed and had input on, I would definitely want to do that for this game, with it being so beautiful and the gameplay playing the way it played, you know what I'm saying? Imagine all the takedowns and different things with other characters in the mercenaries. The high knee drop is Jill in the RE engine, you know what I'm saying? But I think that's gonna cover it. This video ended up being way longer than I wanted it to be. Yeah, those those are all of my flaws or, you know, slight problems I had with the game, stuff that I wanted to hear more on, stuff I want to see, and stuff that can definitely still happen. Because one thing we got to keep remembering, it's not over with yet. You know, the game just came out. Most people like myself are just now beating the game. Y'all should be seeing this Tuesday or something like that, and yeah, most people haven't even completed it, you know, so there's definitely going to be some time before we see any other updates, but hopefully we get a lot of those updates and hopefully DLC this year. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all let me know all your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your flaws. You know, I keep going like this because it's not big flaws, you know what I'm saying? This is still a 10 out of 10 game to me. I can't wait to play it again. I'm actually already started my second playthrough. I might make another video on PC messing around with some of the mods and stuff, just, you know, having more fun with it. But best believe if we get more DLC and other quality of life changes for this game, I will be making videos on it, man. Resident Evil is my current new favorite gaming franchise. It beat Assassin's Creed at this point, and yeah, love this game, and I hope the best for this franchise. And yeah, to the next video, I'm gonna end this up right here. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell so you know when I'm posting, man. Share the content, share the channel, do all of that. I'll see y'all in the next one. It's your boy Kai SMG. Peace.